Top of the morning, Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room, here for a very interesting and sort of an injured, a cold and a snow-ridden Monday morning in the middle of April after Matt. I think a lot of us thought that, and maybe we didn't think it, but we had hoped that the end of winter had come. I'll tell you what, buddy. I don't know if I can do another Wisconsin winter. I'm just going to throw this out here. This fucking shit sucks, and it just never stops. We have done pools in Vegas. I was suntanning outside on my balcony here, and now I've got 6 to 8 inches of snow sitting outside. Now, normally, you know, people get told they're getting 6 to 8 inches, and they're like, that's not bad. That's about average or above average. We're fine with that. Satisfactory. This stuff is just for the birds, man. I don't know. It's April.
I mean, I guess this is the one thing that I said, and I think we can go back to the show. We always get effing snow in La Crosse on April 15th or 16th, and the shit never ends. I'm with you, man. I don't know. We can go out and make snowmen and shit for days out there. It is crazy. Pure blessings, everybody listening and tuning in with us today. This shit's crazy, Dave. I don't know if it's ever going to end. I think we were supposed to get like 16 inches of snow, supposedly somewhere in the airport, and then supposedly next week it's supposed to, or later this week, it's going to hit 90 again. I got no words, man.
I've seen nothing but 40-degree temperatures for the next week. So like the 7-day forecast I've got on my phone says, 44, 43. I have not seen anything in the 90s. I would desperately love some of that. There just becomes a time, and I think this happens probably every single year, right? So it's March, it's April, it's whatever it is, and you're just done with it, right? Like the city of La Crosse.
So done.
The city of La Crosse had to declare a snow emergency, which means that many people, if they didn't move their car to the appropriate side of the street this morning, are going to face with fines and levied fees from the city, which, listen, they've got to do what they've got to do. They've got to plow the fucking streets. But this is April 15th. I know.
Yeah, man.
I get it. And it's Wisconsin. If you don't like the weather, wait an hour, right? Isn't that one of the old sayings?
5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I actually had to drive back from Madison Elroy yesterday, and I didn't try to go through it, but she's like, I'm going to do this anyways. But she had to white knuckle it all the way home. She basically just followed a semi. It took her 2 hours basically to get home from Elroy. It was so bad yesterday.
That's not a thing. Yeah. That is just not a thing. All right, we're basically just loaded to the brim with stuff. Now, we only did a couple of shows last week, and thanks for being patient as we sort of reshuffled our deck here coming back from Vegas, which again was a fantastic trip. The NHL postseason starts tonight. The Vegas Golden Knights, saw them a couple of weeks ago. Will they be able to reach a Stanley Cup playoffs? Will the Bruins be able to take this historic season and continue on? Will the Avs be able to repeat? The NBA postseason tipped off over the weekend. We got a lot to discuss with the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and what we saw from that Bucks Heat game yesterday. The Milwaukee Brewers continue to stay not just good, but goddamn great to start the season off, now 11-5 after they took 3 of 4 from the Padres, one of the tougher teams, at least on paper, in the National League over the weekend. Tonight, they'll be in Seattle at 8:40, taking on Scott Service's Seattle Mariners, who are playing some plucky ball too. Matt, the USFL and the XFL both played this weekend. Kudos to both leagues. The XFL had a bunch of packed houses. DC, packed. St. Louis, packed. And there were awesome, I don't mean good, but awesome games in the XFL. This was the first week of the XFL season in which I felt thoroughly invested into almost every single game. Conversely, the USFL kicked off, and while I thought this was going to be a league that was really going to suffer because the XFL came and stole some of their thunder, I was mistaken. I thought the play on the field was great. The crowds were not terrible in certain cases. Listen, in New Orleans, there was nobody there. But in some of the cases, the crowds were actually pretty good. And I thought, Matt, the presentation on television worked out really well. I thought this was as you mentioned last week, a huge weekend of sports. And except for some of the injuries, which we'll get to, this was a really, really good weekend of sports.
Talk about sports overload, Dave. Honestly, I lost my fucking mind. I just couldn't keep up. And I'm going to go with the XFL. I am fully invested. I think you've known that since the start of the season. It is so much easier, I guess, for me to keep up with the XFL just because I've been invested in it. That USFL, I'm going to say,
it's brand new.
It was brand new. It was hard for me to keep up. Christ, I couldn't even get the defenders right last week, keeping up all the team names. I got so passionate. So trying to get through all these UFL teams, the players, the quarterbacks, the coaches, it's just a lot of football, a lot of sports going on, obviously, with basketball, baseball. It was a hell of a weekend for sports. So much to digest. I am fully invested in the XFL. I put on our Facebook page the other day that they're looking to invest into 4 new teams next year already. So I think the XFL is going to stick around. It's fun to watch, and I cannot wait to watch more XFL. I'm going to try to get in the USFL, brother, but it's going to be hard for me to get a transfer from one to the other. There's so many sports, so much football, so much basketball, so much baseball, and now we got hockey. So
yeah, listen, I love it. I think the USFL coming off the heels of the XFL season, or at least as the XFL season sort of wraps up, right?
Yep.
Then the USFL season kicks off. Again, I wasn't entirely sure that the names of the quarterbacks that we looked at, or even the players themselves, were going to net much on the field. I thought for what it was worth, and again, I didn't see every minute of every USFL game, but I thought for what it's worth, the play on the field was a lot better than I had anticipated. The scores were a lot higher than I had anticipated. So I thought the USFL did a nice job in debuting. Now, to the XFL's credit, the fan bases continue to grow, at least in stadium.
For sure.
Right? Like in stadium fans continue to show up. That is going to be important. And I do think that just for purposes of clarity, the USFL may expand in 2025. So next year they've started in 2024 to do season ticket packages. But by 2025, they've got that list of additional cities. I think in 2024, they're trying to get their ticket bases back. I saw Vegas rolled out a season ticket package in that article that you posted from Pro Football Focus. Either way, if the XFL does expand and goes into other markets, that would be great. I mean, that would be a great thing.
Well, and you and I talked about in Vegas, it's like how many places, how many cities can they actually find a stadium to go to? So you and I debated that numerous times. So the one thing that I will take away from the USFL that I loved more than anything was whoever's controlling the drones in those games have some of the best camera work I've seen in a long time. So that was great.
Good stuff.
It was great to watch.
Listen, presentation-wise, I thought they did a fantastic job. I think the games on the USFL were on Fox, right? So Fox did that great cartooning thing they do for the NFL players. I thought it lent a sense of familiarity. And listen, we'll just wrap up here on the USFL for now. I thought it was really interesting to hear some of the storylines from the commentators coming back. Some of these guys have been hanging around the USFL teams for the last couple of years since the USL first got back out onto the field. All right, Joey Miller's checking in this morning, and we're starting to see some of our audience members pile in on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch. If you want to join the program, that is the best way to do so. Joey Miller talking about the NBA playoffs. He's like, morning, guys. The T-Wolves don't deserve to be in the playoffs after last night. They are an embarrassment. T-Wolves lose by 29 points in the opening game versus the Denver Nuggets. But then again, Joey Miller is a Denver Nuggets fan. And to Joey, he's like, get him out of here. I guarantee you, Joey, if Denver had lost by 29, you'd say, it's a long series. We've got 6 more games. Take it easy.
Yeah.
A lot of surprises in the opening games of the NBA postseason. I was absolutely enthralled with it, as you can imagine, from the Lakers game to the Bucks game to the Suns game later on. It was fantastic. But we'll get into all of that coming up here on this morning's Sports Carnival. Back on the show with us, Joe Daguanno. 8:30 this morning, Joe will be checking in. We've got to address the Aaron Rodgers situation, or lack thereof, because now Joe's starting to tweet out some thoughts like, is maybe the guys in New York, are they getting a little bit of cold feet? Could the Johnson family, Joe Douglas, and even Robert Saleh start to think, hey, maybe this Aaron Rodgers deal is a little bit too rich for our blood? We'll see what Joe has to think about that. We've got a poll question on our Facebook group page, which Matt is monitoring, as well as our Twitter feed at The Sports Carnival, which I am monitoring, and that is this. After the Bucks lose not just game 1 to the Miami Heat, but Giannis Antetokounmpo to a back contusion, what is the bigger concern for you right now? Is it the game 1 loss to the Heat, or is it that injury that Giannis suffered? We'll get into that right away when we come back. This is the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just a regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
At the Little Doobie's Pizza, we kill 2 stone birds with 1 rock every time with our hand-rolled Doobie Deluxe for only $49.95. That's a street value of over $75. No way! The Doobie Deluxe is a hand-rolled 18-inch pizza that will blow your bone-resonant mind. Whoa! topped with a sausage, black olives, extra cheese, and about a half ounce of the finest kush at east side of San Bernardino.
Dude, give me another slice.
Because at Little Doobie's Pizza, we put a little TLC in our THC.
And right now, for a limited time only, get an order of crazy cannabis bread for only $10 with an order of a Doobie Deluxe at the street value of over $22.50.
You know what we say at the Little Doobie's Pizza? Why get stoned then eat when you can do both at the same time?
Doobies.
You betcha. Little Doobie's Pizza. Excuse me. That was a little Stacks Family Farm right there. Woo. Welcome back to the Sports Carnival. Again, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room, where, Matt, we've got bingo coming up tonight. We'll remind our audience members about that, 7 o'clock till about 9-ish. But we've also got something really fun coming up for 420, don't we, big guy?
Yeah, brother. We got a couple of big events coming up this weekend. Obviously, 420s this Thursday. Stacks Family Farm is going to be out and about. There's a couple of big events going on around town. Obviously, this is in Vegas. This is the LAX. So Stacks Family Farm is going to be out and about. We're going to giving away some free swag throughout the day. We have some CBD-infused beers coming on tap, some bar swag, everything going on Thursday. And then on Friday, we have Taster's Eve with Bell's and New Belgium breweries coming in for the night for a tap takeover. So there's a busy weekend in La Crosse with a lot of sports as well.
You betcha. I'm feeling like I'm going to have one of our friends that works with us at the Recovery Room. I'm going to invite him up here to the studio, right, and have him take a look at this Friday, 10 minutes before their shift. Throw them in the dog kennel, go down, take their shift.
Sounds like a plan.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's fucking clandestine operations right there.
I think you can even fit one of them in there with Leo, to be honest with you.
Depends on which one it is. We'll see. Some of them might like it, and then I'll be like, hey, wait, this just got weird fast. Let me set up my camera. I've already got the lights in here. All right, go.
Talk about going viral.
Indeed. All right, speaking of viral, Matt, we've got our Twitter poll question. We've got our poll question on Facebook. Take it if you have a second. What's a bigger concern to you right now? Giannis Antetokounmpo's injury in game 1. He fell on his back in the first quarter, trying to go up for a layup. Obviously in pain, left with a contusion, x-ray clear, but still a concern. So is Giannis's injury a bigger concern for you, or is it the Bucks losing game 1 to the Miami Heat? Again, we'll give you a little time to take this morning's poll question, but they exist both places, the Facebook group page and our Twitter feed at The Sports Carnival. As mentioned, if you're just joining the show, we'll talk Bucks. We'll talk some Brewers. We're going to talk Packers. Joe Daguanno joins, but I want to start here with the Bucks. And, what we saw yesterday from Milwaukee, Matt, I know a lot of folks really pumped up about this opening game. I was too. One thing that I was really not excited about, and I told our friend Ben downstairs, because Ben's a huge Bucks fan, right? Mm-hmm. I told our friend Ben last week, this is what I was not excited about. The Miami Heat. I was excited for the postseason. I was excited to see the Bucks take their 58-24 record, into the postseason show and see if they could dominate, win a championship. I still think they can beat the Heat with or without Giannis. But the point is, I don't like the Heat matchup. The Heat play scrappy. They play tough. They play good defense. They're well coached by Eric Spoelstra, a guy that's got 2 championships. Jimmy Butler's a never say die kind of guy. And this Heat team presents like a lot of problems in my estimation for the Bucks. Again, not that they can't win, but it's a tougher series than, say, the Chicago Bulls would have been, right? Milwaukee would have rolled over the Chicago Bulls in game 1, and they probably would have beaten them in 4. So as the Heat and Bucks series sort of geared up, I was like, all right, this could be a little difficult, but we'll see what happens. Then we saw the Bucks come out just absolutely flat, couldn't hit a shot. The Heat are starting to get on fire, and Giannis goes down. So listen, the Bucks lose game 1. I don't think you can take away much from the final score because it ended to be not as close as it actually was. But the Bucks are now out of home court advantage. The Heat have stolen home court advantage. So to you, Matt, what is the bigger concern after this game 1 loss? Is it Giannis's injury, or is it the actual loss itself to the Miami Heat?
Sorry, brother. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say neither. I honestly think if with Giannis going down, it was obviously not a great situation. I think the Bucks still could win the series even if Giannis is down, because I'm going to put in 2 things with that. The Heat have already played 2 more games than the Bucks have because of the play-in tournament. The Bucks have a deeper bench, obviously, with this. Also, the Heat have lost Tyler Hero.
Yeah, broke his hand.
Yeah, or broke a couple fingers, whatever.
No, he broke his hand.
Yeah. And then going off with everything else, who was the biggest showout for the Heat yesterday? It was 34-year-old Kevin Love, who just came in, put his presence in, took some charges, played some defense, made some threes or some outside shots. The Heat also are one of the worst teams in the NBA for their 3-point shooting, and they came out on fire. So I don't see them playing that consistently throughout this entire series as well.
Yeah.
So I think Giannis is a concern, but I don't really think they've truly lost their home field advantage as well, brother. I see what you're saying, but I think obviously they can take one down in Miami. They're a better team, in my opinion, still without Giannis. They're deeper. And I think they're just going to outlast the Heat.
Well, yeah, I mean, I said largely the same thing, but there's still, okay, of the two things, what's the bigger concern? The injury or the loss?
The injury.
Okay. So the Hero injury is probably more concerning for the Heat.
Right.
The Bucks shot 11 for 45 from downtown yesterday. 11 for 45. Now, from 2-point range, the Bucks shot 74% from the field. From 3-point range, they couldn't hit the broadside of the barn. That will change for Milwaukee, right? Like, they will hit those shots. Listen, I didn't really overreact too much from the loss. The injury, before we knew what it was exactly, did have me a little concerned, because let's just say that Giannis fractured one of those bones that's in his spine, or had
Cockett's tailbone.
Sure. That could be a very, very protracted injury that could take him not just weeks, but maybe months to fully get over. The fact that it's just a contusion, the x-rays come out quote unquote clear, is a great sign. And Giannis is as tough as they come, right? Like, he'll play through just about anything, but you could tell that he just couldn't go. I tend to agree, though, that in most ways, the Bucks are a more superior team than the Miami Heat. The thing that concerns me about the Heat, and you said Kevin Love, yeah, he had a great game, but Jimmy Buckets, that dude was just the man. And Bam Adebayo really stepped up, had a good game. The Heat really didn't play Kyle Lowry. The Heat didn't really play, a couple of guys that they probably could have gotten on some court time. Victor Oladipo. The Heat are still one of those teams that, you look at them and you say, how did they nearly go to the finals last year? They took Boston to the 7th game, right? And then Boston goes on to lose to Golden State. They went to the championship in the bubble and beat the Bucks. Yep. They're one of these teams that you just look at and say, how is it that they're able to do it? And there's something about Jimmy Butler and the way that the Heat play that it doesn't make me think that what you said is wrong, because I agree. I think the Bucks can win without Giannis in this particular series, not the championship, but in this particular series. I agree. They're not going to shoot as poorly as they did in game 1, and the Heat aren't going to shoot as good as they did in game 1, most reasonably, but I just don't like the matchup, and I really would have wished for the Bulls. That's all. I know it is what it is, and the Bucks have to play who they got to play, but I would have wished for the Bulls. As it stands right now, the Bucks go down 1-0. Next game is going to be coming up on Wednesday night. If you saw the screen there, it will tip off at 8 o'clock. The game will actually be shown on NBA TV. So we'll have it for you down at the bar for sure. Recov, we've got all the channels. We got you covered.
The one thing that really threw my mind out that I didn't know about the Heat, too, brothers, that I listened yesterday is obviously they do have a deep team, too. I don't think they're as deep.
They're not nearly as deep as the Bucks, no.
But I believe they have something like 7 undrafted players on the Heat team.
Yeah.
That goes to show how good Pat Riley and Spoelstra still are.
Oh, my God.
And it's unbelievable how they can put those guys together, just play together.
Well, think of Duncan Robinson, who doesn't really get much burn right now.
Basically made one shot yesterday.
Yeah, but he a couple of years ago was really high up in their rotation, right? Signed a huge contract. That was a D3 player.
Yep.
Duncan Robinson played in fucking Division 3. Like, he played against teams like UW Lacrosse, and he plays for the Heat. No, listen, the Heat are awesome at developing their rosters, and that's one of the reasons why they've been so successful. As a quick pivot, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I thought it was a fantastic game. The Lakers versus the Grizzlies was fantastic. Now, one of the reasons, as a Laker fan, I've always been able to say, like, this team could always come back, is because, like the Miami Heat, the Lakers are great at evaluating talent. And I was talking about this a couple of days back with somebody downstairs. If the Lakers would have on their team right now all the guys that they've given up in recent years to get the likes of Anthony Davis, that'd be a full all-star team. They drafted Julius Randle at number 7. He'll very well lead the Knicks to a playoff victory. Brandon Ingram is the best player on the Pelicans. I don't care what they say about Zion. He's never out there.
Yep.
Lonzo Ball, injured, but was still a very good player. D'Angelo Russell, they have back, so they've actually got him. Avicii Zubats is the starting center for the Clippers. He was a second-round draft pick. Jordan Clarkson was a guy that they drafted. He plays for Utah. Kyle Kuzma is now an emerging superstar in Washington, has had, some great seasons. When you look at the way that the Lakers drafted, this Reeves kid is why I was talking about that. The narrative really fits and continues. Good teams, and we'll get into the Brewers discussion about this as well. Good teams fucking find players when they are young and bring them up through the ranks. draft them in the right spots, don't overdraft the players, and then use those guys for as long as they can, fiscally responsible, especially for the Brewers case. But this kid, Austin Reeves, when he was making his shots, and he's like, I'm him.
Yep.
Dude, I just love that. I thought the kid was awesome.
I loved it. And the way that he came out LeBron came out and said he's not a two-way player or a two-way contract. He's going to make it and he's going to get paid this summer as well, which I really love. Now I'm going to ask you this, brother. I want to stay in the NBA, but I'm going to ask you to take off your Bucks hat for a second here.
Okay.
Straight NBA.
Yeah.
What is the bigger situation, Ja Morant or Giannis?
Ja.
Okay.
Definitely, because Ja's hand, it very well may keep him out of game 2.
And didn't that happen against the Bucks too?
No, it happened yesterday against.
No, but I think he first initially heard against the Bucks a couple weeks ago. So he's kind of been dealing with this for a couple weeks or something, but then it just really happened yesterday.
So he had some sort of other cut. No, his hand had gotten cut in a jersey. That's what I remember them talking about. So he was already wearing some tape on that hand, but his hand had gotten caught in a jersey. Right. So there was something had happened on that.
Who looked more flat yesterday without their star, the Grizzlies or the Bucks?
The Bucks.
Okay. You really think so?
Yeah.
Because the Grizzlies did not look very competitive at all. I mean, they started out
Are you
well.
kidding me? The game was tied.
I know, but I guess that's also because they're
the Bucks were getting beat by 14 points at home.
I don't know. Just the way that they looked like both teams were playing just really looked like.
No, I watched the whole Grizzlies game, and I disagree. They played right up into the end, and if it weren't for Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves. Yeah. Anthony Davis coming back from he had a stinger in his arm in the second quarter, got knocked out until halftime. I think it was, to me, it was the Grizzlies looked as competitive as they could be. And they're one of the better home teams in the league. They're better at home than even the Bucks are record wise. So the Bucks have an issue here without Giannis. And I think that without Giannis, they won't have a chance to win a championship. In the in the Heat series, I agree they should still be fine. But I almost wonder if the Bucks didn't come into that game versus Miami, I don't want to say on cruise control because that wouldn't be it, but flat, because the Heat had just played. Now, I know it was 2 more games, but the Heat have been playing recently, right? So they've gotten their lather up. They've been out there. There's a little bit more recency to their play. I think maybe the Bucks suffered from not playing for a week. Yeah, they were just a little rusty. They hadn't played for a week. And, I don't think they overlook Miami at all, because that would be a fool's errand to overlook Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler. Yep. Don't do that. And in the NBA or any professional sport, you can't really overlook anybody. But I just think that maybe they were a little flat rusty. And then when Giannis got hurt, and the commentators mentioned this throughout the entire game, Fiserv Forum went dead.
Yeah.
So
completely.
The FedEx Forum in Memphis, that shit was live until the final minute of the game, right? Yep. I mean, it was. They were like really into it. So yeah, from all of those different perspectives, I think it was the Bucks without Giannis. The team just fell flat. And the whole stadium fell flat.
I don't know if the weather made a difference. Obviously, yesterday it took a little bit longer
to get inside.
Well, no, but it got long. It took longer to get to Milwaukee. But like the Deer Park or Fear the Deer, there was nobody there.
Deer District.
There was nobody outside yesterday at all, either in Milwaukee.
So yeah, well, it's because it's
a little flat.
Fucking bullshit. It's snowing outside. It sucks. All right, let's go to a couple of our Facebook group members who are checking in here. Not exactly sure who this was. Good morning. See you soon. Matthew Ellens.
That's Johnny Wadzinski. He's going to be helping us out with the Stacks Family Farm giveaway.
Is he?
So, yeah, of course he is. He'll be stopping by today, earlier this afternoon. So we're
this afternoon.
Yeah.
Later this afternoon?
Before noon or before 2. How about that sound? I don't know. You got me all flustered. He'll be around this sometime today. I'll see you sometime today.
Johnny Wad, we love you, big guy. We love you, big guy. All right, let's see. Thomas, UWL, is checking in once again. He was asking us what up with the snow. Says, listen, on the bright side, he doesn't have to go to his first class this morning.
I think there's a lot of people like that today.
I saw some schools, at least in the surrounding areas, were closed. So, we might have some schools getting delayed. I don't think in lacrosse, looking outside now, because the streets are plowed, I don't think in lacrosse anybody was going to be getting a day off. As a matter of fact, I don't think lacrosse has ever really taken snow days. I don't think that's a thing they do.
Not in a long time. I mean, we did back in the day when I was a kid, but we used to get a shit ton more snow.
No, but that was Aquinas. And
no,
you guys
I'm talking
were private.
I'm talking grade school. Still back in the day, too. So,
maybe you were an Aquinas guy. The rich ones at Aquinas.
Sure. I was a parochial kid most of my life till I went to Platteville and UWL, man. All
right. Well, let's do this, Matt. We're going to step aside, take a really quick pause. When we come back, he's locked and loaded. We've been trying to get him on for the last week, and scheduling conflicts have made it difficult, but he's here for you. And I think that Joe's going to ask a question that a lot of us are starting to ask, maybe even the folks in New York. Are the Jets getting cold feet Is this whole Aaron Rodgers deal becoming a bit much for them, and they haven't even suited this dude up yet? Stick around. Sports Carnival broadcasting live, Trauma Center studio, back in about 38 seconds. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Yeah, Kyle Cable, former UWL Eagle football player, the official real estate partner of the program, sold my house in Stoddard, and boy, we've got a lot of big things working with Kyle Cable. If you're looking to buy or sell, invest in real estate, go ahead and check him out. Bob Schmidt was checking in and saying lacrosse is off today. I don't know, is that the public schools, like the grade schools, Bob, or is that Lacrosse Central? That would be awesome if it was Lacrosse Central. High school kids, I don't think have gotten a snow day in lacrosse in
Well, if it'd be Central,
really
Central
long time.
and Logan. It
Wow.
would be the high school, so it would be both. But I'm just guessing off the bat. I don't have kids, but I'm guessing it's a public school or the grade schools.
I would imagine so too. And hey, don't fret, Lacrosse Logan and Lacrosse Central. Pretty soon, you guys will actually just be in one school, so you won't have to worry about that being two schools. You'll just be in the same school.
Well, if you think about it, dude, I can't believe a month from now, all the college kids will be graduated. We have 16 inches of snow on the ground, and in about a month from now, everybody's going to be graduating. So
yeah, it's that time of year, Joe, where a young man's fancy turns to romance, and the snow comes and just puts a wet blanket all over that. It's beautiful. Listen, it is. It's gorgeous. You took a couple of really captivating photos recently, and I appreciate those. That's what I like about snow. The visuals that it gives you, and I'm always going to appreciate snow on like my phone, on a television screen, or in somebody else's neighborhood. I don't know how much more of this I want to do in April. I'm ready to turn the page, baby.
You know what? I was hell-bent. I had my grill all ready. I had some Rastelli burgers, and I don't know if you guys have ever had Rastelli burgers, but I've
heard of them.
They are fucking awesome, and I was hell-bent on grilling out last night, so I did it. I still got it done. Got a bunch of Rastelli burgers done for my son and myself, and so it is what it is, man. Does it suck? Yeah. For those that have lived here most of our lives, it is what it is. And I kind of look out the window and shrug my shoulders. We had 80 degrees.
Yes.
3 or 4 days ago, and now we got 30 degrees. And so I actually in Madison still was going to hit the road a little bit earlier today to head up northwest, but going to do that a little bit later, wait until the roads clear off just a bit and I feel a little bit better. And then I'm going to hit the roads. And here's the thing, heading up to Eau Claire, and the snowplow guy that does our house up there, he's like, you know what? It's going to melt. I'm not even going to come out. So there we go.
Okay.
It's a here and now kind of thing. It's kind of like Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. He's here one day and then he's gone one day. And I was going to tweet last night about this, and I held off because at first that picture I tweeted was Woody Johnson. And instead of saying cold feet, I was going to say, there we go, La Crosse School District is closed today, according to Thomas. So there we go. I was going to tweet out, is Woody getting soft on Aaron Rodgers?
I like that.
I thought, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to still keep this PG when I'm on Twitter, but I figured I'd say it today. But reports last week, Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports, because one of the questions that I think we've all had on this whole Rodgers drama is why would the Packers have let the whole fucking Jets contingency go out and talk with Rodgers if there wasn't a deal in place?
Sure.
And so Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports last week, reported there was a deal in place. And that deal was a number 2 this year, a number 1 next year, and then some type of conditional 2025 if Rodgers doesn't play, et cetera, et cetera. And what spooked Woody Johnson was Rodgers going on his buddy Pat McAfee's show saying 90% retired. And so Woody Johnson basically called Joe Douglas, according to Charles Robinson, and said, hold up. I'm getting nervous now. I'm getting a little nervous about giving up a number one next year for Rodgers. And so, if anybody, I'm seeing Jets fans on social media, and it's hilarious to me because they're like, Rodgers is going to take us to the Super Bowl. Rodgers isn't worth a number one. And I'm like, can't have it both ways, guys. But I thought it was really interesting what Charles Robinson reported. And then I heard yesterday that Rodgers has told the Jets, and again, I can't disclose my sources, but Rodgers has told the Jets, if they give up a number one for me, so if the Jets give up a number one, Rodgers is only going to do 1 year, because what he wants to do is he wants to stick it to Goody. And so this is getting a little Favre-esque as far as not just I want to play, but I want to play and stick it to the Packers as well. So, we're a week and a half away. I've already got my and I only do one Packer mock draft now. And again, I go back to first time you and I started working together was going into the 18 draft with Jair Alexander. And so I used to do tons of mocks, and I've kind of got the flesh now on my mock, and I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see if this trade gets done. It wouldn't surprise me, based on what I'm hearing, if this trade does not get done before next Thursday.
So listen, guys, and Joe, I've been ruminating on that Pat McAfee performance, appearance, whatever that was, for weeks. And we said this exact thing in the aftermath of that of his most recent appearance. This dude is a horrible poker player. Like, he is a horrible poker player. And what you saw in that particular clip is, I'm glad this didn't land just on us that are sitting here on this particular show, was Aaron Rodgers essentially, fucked a hand up for both the Jets and himself, put the Packers in the absolute driver's seat with all of this. And, if Rodgers wants to stick it to Brian Gutekunst because he drafted Jordan Love, take that out on him in Baccarat, or play blackjack against the man, play poker. It was his job. And Aaron Rodgers treating this like Brett Favre did at the very end, like a bitch, makes him just all the more like Brett Favre. And Joe, I thought that was something that Aaron really wanted to go against. This was something that you and I talked about for years. Aaron, just, if one thing he doesn't want to be, is Brett Favre.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I thought, look, first of all, anybody, did you guys see the Bussin' with the Boys with Bakhtiari? Did you guys see that?
I heard it. I didn't see it, but I heard it.
Okay, so I watched most of it. And first of all, anybody who has a problem with anything David Bakhtiari said that day,
no problem.
It's like, he didn't come out and say we suck. He said, are we going to be good? I don't know. And I think that's a realistic approach to take it. And even though, Bakhtiari said he separates Aaron from 12, which I thought was an interesting way of looking at it. But the one thing he said is, it wouldn't surprise him, with how acrimonious that this has gotten, that if Green Bay doesn't get what they want from the Jets, or what they were already promised from the Jets, and again, that's a big thing, according to, again, going back to what Robinson reported, but Bakhtiari said it wouldn't surprise him at all if the Packers just basically say, fuck it, we're going to sit on you this year, we're going to eat the cost. And I love this too, with Jets fans saying that, Green Bay, is going to be in salary cap hell, and so they have to trade him. No, they lose $10 million by trading him, and so they actually don't gain anything by trading him in the cap. They actually lose cap space. So I thought it was interesting. Bakhtiari said that. Now, was that motivated somehow to maybe get both sides together? Was that Rodgers in his ear to move Joe Douglas along? Who knows what puppet strings are being played right now? But it would not surprise me. And I thought for sure this deal would have gotten done before the trade, and it still may, or before the draft, because we're a week and a half away. And so it still may, because Andrew Brandt says it, deadlines create urgency. All right. And if this is a true deadline for both teams, it's going to create some urgency. But Bakhtiari said it wouldn't surprise him at all, with how acrimonious this is starting to get, that Green Bay says, fuck it, sit 12. You know what? You enjoy your off year, make your $60 million, and then let's see where this takes us in 2024. So I don't think it gets to that point, because I think Green Bay, I think they don't want that blood on their hands, that mud on their hands, whatever you want to call it, because you kind of look stupid at that point. But yeah, this thing, it's gotten interesting to where I thought all along it would be done for sure. Now I'm not so sure. And hearing that Woody Johnson's starting to back out and maybe Rodgers has kind of a personal vendetta going on here, I mean, it's pretty fucked up. And again, if I'm David Dunn, Rodgers' agent, I just got to say, Aaron, shut the fuck up. I mean, and if you've noticed Mark Murphy on the rest of the tour, I think a lot of people in Green Bay told Mark Murphy to shut the fuck up because now when you talk to Murphy about the trade, his response is, I have nothing to say. I have no updates. I have no comments. I mean, he goes on a high school girls playoff game and basically, talks about Aaron Rodgers in the past tense. Well, that lost leverage to the Packers. I mean, the more that these dumb fucks talk, the less leverage their side has.
Well, and I guess where I was going to go with this, Joe, is I think this entire situation's asinine. Obviously, there's a huge $60 million difference between Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers in this current situation. I still will jump out this window if the Packers get a first-round pick for Aaron Rodgers. I'm still sticking on that fucking ledge. The most recent trade that I heard, which is possible, was 2 second-round picks and Corey Davis, the wide receiver. I still think that could be a possibility. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I if the 2-2s are this year, I don't hate it at all. Corey Davis, I'm not overly excited about. You got to restructure that deal because that's a $10 million salary cap hit. And so I don't hate that at all. If you look at the value chart, Matt, on that, then you say, okay, 2-2s and a player, you look at the point value going back to that, it does equal a number 1 draft choice. And so I have zero problem with that. But again, what I'm hearing right now is that the Packers, they had a deal in place. And that deal was what I said earlier. And now they're just saying, nope, we had a deal in place. We let you in good faith go talk to Rodgers. Because again, I think that was one of the biggest things that I was scratching my head about is how could Green Bay let a contingency of recruiters go talk to a guy without a deal in place? I thought, man, I've had my question marks on Goody, but I'm like, wow, that's really dumb. Now hearing that wasn't the case, and now it's Woody Johnson, as I said, getting soft on this deal. It's just reading some of the Facebook notes there. But here's the thing, and I loved it yesterday on Twitter. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Peter Bukowski, who's a Packer podcaster and a big Rodgers hater, got into it with Bulaga yesterday, Brian Bulaga on Twitter, and it was actually kind of fun to watch. And Peter Bukowski, former intern of Bill Michaels, and so it kind of brings it close to home here. But this thing it has so unwound itself in so many different circles that I don't even give a shit anymore, unless it's something that I feel is real that comes out like this Charles Robinson report, or hearing Bakhtiari speak directly. I put it in the it is what it is and file it away. I mean, it is, I'd rather, let's talk about Giannis. Let's talk about Wade Miley and the Brewers. I mean, let's talk about draft choices. Let's actually get into the draft rather than Rodgers. But it's just interesting that both the Charles Robinson interview comes out and the Bakhtiari stuff comes out. And then again, hearing from a friend of a source that, Rodgers wants to stick it to Goody. It's just fucking grow up, man. It's to the point. And again, I'll go to my grave. I'll even have this on my tombstone. Aaron Rodgers was the best thrower of the football of all time. I will have that on my tombstone. All right. I don't say quarterback because quarterback has the rings. All right. And so, when I say that grow up to Rodgers, I'm tired of the circus. And again, looking back years from now, I'll look back on his career and say, and Packer fans will as well. And again, the guy was a generational talent, but it's just, man, the shit you got to do to placate this dude around him. It just, I got 4 kids. I love them all. And Woody Johnson, Brian Gutekunst, Mark Murphy, they're all parenting Aaron Rodgers right now. And I'm like, dude, fucking grow up. You're 40 years old.
Well, and Joe, I was going to leave you on this one because obviously we've learned through Aaron Rodgers, no matter what comes out of his mouth, it's always going to be methodical. And if he does have this personal vendetta against Goody, how much more personal can you have for a vendetta when it's $60 million fucking dollars? So I just get over and get past it. Now I'm going to bring up this to you, and I'd love to get you on this because I don't want to say I called it, but we were right there down the line. Where are you at on the Snyder situation in DC?
Oh, the deal got done, or it seems to be getting done. I mean, it was interesting that Jeff Bezos' group didn't get it. I thought that was really interesting, and they got a little star power. I believe Magic Johnson's in this group that looks like they're getting it done, and I think the faster you can get rid of Daniel Snyder, if you're the NFL, the better you are. I look at this ownership group and what it's made of anything coming in. And again, Daniel Snyder made a shit ton of money on this, boys. I mean, nobody's feeling bad for him at this point, but I think Roger Goodell and the NFL want Snyder just to kind of go away very quietly, because I think that those emails and the things that they were looking to do, I think there was a lot of shit that the NFL doesn't want to get out. And I think they're at the point now where it's, let's just hope this goes away quietly. Let's have this happen. Let's have all the owners approve it and move on.
So I made a reference last week about Snyder and Larry Flint. When Larry Flint published in his magazine a list of politicians who he had dirt on because he went and hired investigators on all of them because they were trying to shut down Hustler. Guess what happened? Nothing to Hustler. And those people shut the fuck up. When Dan Snyder, it was revealed during that investigation that he had hired private investigators to dig up dirt on the rest of the owners. Why do you think Dan Snyder's still an owner today? And I know he's selling his team. Other owners have been forced out of leagues fast. And you're right. The NFL wants to be very careful. They're going to let this guy make $5.2 billion, go about his business, never talk about him ever again. It's going to be like one of those things from The Simpsons when Marge comes back from vacation and let us never speak of it again. That's what they want with Dan Snyder. I'm going to circle back to Rodgers, though, real quick, because David Bakhtiari had said something that I've been saying from the very beginning. The Packers don't need to do anything for Rodgers. There is nothing they need to do for him. And again, when this fucking idiot, Rodgers, goes on, Pat McAfee's show and says, first, I'm 90% retired. Second of all, I'm still the MVP. Well, now we've really got something, because the Jets are like, wait, you're going to play 1 year. And the Packers are saying, hey, wait, you're still the MVP, right? So if both things are true, which they can't be, and I disagree, methodical, Aaron thinks he's methodical, but he thinks he's smarter than he is. And he talks himself and paints himself in these corners, which now he can't get out of because he's so smart. Awesome. He can read a playbook and he processes things at a great level. That's one thing. But emotional intelligence, social awareness are different. And he doesn't seem to have a lot of either of those. I'm kind of with Bakhtiari. If the deal doesn't make the Packers richer, fucking sit on it, because you're going to get compensation. If he plays again, you'll get compensatory draft picks anyways. Okay. Don't do anything if it's a bad deal. You don't take a bad deal just to take a deal. And Rodgers, again, if he's not worth, Matt, a first round pick, then why? Then what's the point of this thing? The Packers are picking at 15. The Jets are at 13. Let's just be reasonable here. If Green Bay gets a bad deal, fuck this guy. I mean, let him sit. That's fine. And then how embarrassing is that? You're not even going to play.
Yeah, and here, going back to it, guys, the Packers lose salary cap room once they trade him. So it's not, yes, you got the albatross around your neck down the road. I mean, I get all of that. But this year, there is no pressure unless you really wanted to make that deal to get that extra number two, or the number one this year. There's just nothing. And again, remember, the bonus of Aaron Rodgers isn't due until September fucking 11th.
Wow.
And so it's the first game of the season. And so, at this point, if it doesn't happen on the draft, there's no fucking hurry. And again, it's mind-boggling to me that here we are X amount of weeks later still talking about this shit. I mean, I wanted, and this is why I started working on my draft stuff this weekend, because I'm like, fuck it, 12's not even a part of my planning now. And so now I'm looking at, okay, we should be talking about, should the Packers be trying to make a trade for Budda Baker, who came out, the safety from the Cardinals, came out and said he wants a trade. Packers actually have come out as one of the leaders in the pack to possibly make that trade and get that done. Those are the things we should be talking about rather than 12. And it just, you going back to a DC, you said it. 12 never wanted to be 4. All right. 12 always wanted to be separate from 4. And it is eerie how close these two now are together and how the situations are so similar and how the vitriol against the organization that drafted them and with Favre's case traded for them. I mean, it's crazy to me. But here's the thing, guys. Unless something happens next Monday, we're going to be talking draft preview.
Yes.
All right? Because I'm fucking done with this. And real quick, I agree with you, DC. The Bucks, it was the long layoff. When you're lathered up and in it, I'm not worried about this series. I'm not. And so Bucks fans, get off the ledge. The only reason I'm worried about this series is if the back doesn't react well with Giannis. That's the only way. If he doesn't play, then I'm worried. And then you look at the Brewers, and I got to say, Craig Counsell, fucking magician. And he's just a fucking magician, and he's the right manager for this team. And again, it's early in the baseball season, but it sure is fun to watch. One last thing, Badger football had a chance to meet with Coach Fick and Coach Longo. Guys, it's the real deal. I got a chance to watch some practices, the energy, the vibe, and nothing against Paul, because I love Paul Christ, but it is so, if Paul Christ is coaching youth football,
yes,
Fick and Longo in that group, they're coaching the pros. And the way, the pacing, that quarterback room, Mordecai looks great. CJ Williams looks great. So good things on the horizon for Badger football.
Well, I love hearing that. And I think Paul Christ would be a terrific actual youth football coach. His temperament, no, I'm serious. His temperament for coaching kids, I think, would be fantastic. He'd probably be a good coordinator. He's definitely not a head man. I mean, great record in the Big Ten. We'll talk Brewers when we come back here, but I just have to thank you again for your time and your contributions. I am going to be curious about this, and I'm not sure if this is a terrible idea, but I am going to be curious next week to find out if at 15, the Packers get only their first round pick at 15, if Hendon Hooker is sitting out there, the kid from Tennessee that was the presumptive number 1 quarterback, if he's just sitting out there at 15, I'm going to be curious to get your take on that. So, Joe, as Matt likes to say, pure blessings, man. Appreciate you as always. This has been fun.
I can't wait to talk Badger football with you too, Joe, in a week or two. So
yeah,
you know what? Get your asses down here for the spring game.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
That's
when's
next
that coming
weekend?
up?
It's next weekend.
We'll look into
check
it.
the schedules. I'm not on the schedule because,
Well, I can make the schedule, brother.
There you go.
We can
All right.
figure it out.
See ya.
Yeah.
Thanks,
all right, man.
This is Tailgating Tales with Bert Kowalski.
Episode 22.
There'll be no toilet wine before it's time.
It was late September of '92. The Bengals are in town and managed to take out Packers starting QB, the Magic Man, Dan Majkowski. Enter stage left, and then fresh-faced Brett Favre, who engineers a beautiful fourth-quarter comeback to beat Cincy 24-23. It began a 15-year bromance with the state of Wisconsin and cheeseheads worldwide. Meanwhile, I'm in the Lambeau Field parking lot, where I've enjoyed every home game since I was knee-high to a Milwaukee's best tall boy. This is where the tale takes a twist. Majkowski's out, the pack is in jeopardy, and I'm out of beer. Lucky for me, Lou Three Fingers Nelson, who did a stretch in Joliet, always had a fresh batch of toilet wine brewing in his mini-winnie. I was 6 cups in and barely coherent when Favre threw that TD to Kendrick Taylor for the win. God bless Favre, and God bless Three Fingers Toilet Wine.
Favre put it right on the line. A perfect pass, a perfect catch.
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ Services, featuring Neil Duda.
The Midwest M&M.
No doubt about it, I'm done hammered, and that's every day. Brains are cloudy, dog.
Dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream socials,
Or cockhold parties.
whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again. Back with all our friends. Here comes the pain.
Neil Duda.
Neil Duda's DJ services. Man, what a great time that cuckold party was with Matt LaFleur. You know, we got to watch him as he squirmed around for the first, 4 years of his career. Like, Aaron Rodgers is the great thrower of the football. Aaron Rodgers is the best divisional quarterback over the last decade and a half. All right, regular season divisional quarterback in the NFC North, because I can't even give him best divisional quarterback. That was Brady. That was Manning. He's the best regular season NFC North divisional quarterback there's been. All of Rodgers' great highlights are against the Lions and the Bears. And he had one against the Cowboys, but you know, I don't really like Rodgers. I don't. And I think he's a good football player. I get it. Packer fans, you know, it's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers. Okay. What the fuck has this guy done for 13 years? Couple of nice seasons statistically, and what comes up really small in the postseason? Wow. Get rid of this guy. And it's just interesting. Does life imitate art, or does art imitate life? That's the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation. It's hard to tell. I never thought I would see it play out exactly like it did back then. And there are sure some minor differences. Brett Favre didn't have Pat McAfee, a punter, to go on a show with and, you know, talk his hick bullshit. You know, that wasn't something that he had back then, but Aaron does.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sense of entitlement, obviously different than the previous generation, social media, more people out there, I guess the woke generation for Aaron Rodgers and everybody else. So it's definitely complete. It's art or life. I don't know, man. Either way, I'm sick of this fucking soap opera myself.
He is not woke. He's as asleep at the wheel as anybody is. And that's why I love what Joe V's checking in here. Is like, if Rodgers steals money from poor people in Arkansas, I'll start to believe we live in a movie, because we got Brett stealing from Mississippi, and then we'd have Aaron stealing from Arkansas.
Yeah, you never fucking know.
Oh, God, disgusting redneck Brett Favre and this fucking chode Aaron Rodgers. Like, I mean, I know they were good quarterbacks, but man, oh man. All right, let's see. Poll question today. What's the bigger concern right now? After game one, Bucks lose to the Heat. Is it Giannis's injury or the Bucks' actual loss? 87%, Matt, of respondents on Twitter say it's Giannis's injury. What about our Facebook group page? What are we looking like there?
Facebook is basically the same, brother. We have 81% at Giannis's injury. And second place, we have 18% are right in with the April snow.
Oh, I like that. The April snow is actually getting 18%.
And the Bucks lose game one is 1%.
Yeah,
so,
the April snow is so terrible, by the way. Javon's checking in this morning and said it was an easy day yesterday. Every day we wake up, we have to act like it's going to be a great day, and it will. When talking about the snow, Javon wants us to remember it's going to be okay. And Javon, if you come shovel my stairs and my entire balcony for me, that will help make it a great day. If you want to know how you can help the show today, Javon, that is how.
Oh, I got to throw out a special shout out. Thanks to Josh Pogreba, a good friend, fellow owner in the bar business.
Yes.
He brought he drove his cat down here and did the sidewalks for me. So
is that what I heard?
Yeah, that was Josh doing the snow.
Wow. All right. Well, now we have to give a free shout out to Pogie's Catering, which is fantastic, and Progreba's Restaurant, which is on Caledonia Street in North La Crosse.
Yeah, and he's also got the old style shimmies, and they just opened Pettibone Boat Club for the summer. So wishing good luck.
So those are all of his?
Yep.
Josh, we need to talk. Yeah. I love Pettibone. Shimmies is super fun. And you're actually, you know what? I've never eaten at Progreba's.
Oh, it's great. Actually, I go there quite often. It's great food. And then,
well, thanks for inviting me, asshole.
Hey, man,
you've got a great friend. Josh Progreba comes and he does the streets. Never is
I've known Josh for a long time. So
always a bridesmaid, never the bride. Hey, thanks, Matt.
So I didn't know if I actually want a third meal for a romantic date. You know, we'll find you a lady friend.
What are you talking about? I can help carry one of you out.
There you go.
Which is definitely something that we would need help with on those nights. All right, I want to get into something quick before we sprinkle in some bingo talk, some NHL hockey preview. Matt, we talked about it with Joe Daguanno. We started off the show kind of bringing this up. We need to give some time here to our Milwaukee Brewers. I know that you're a Cubs guy, but listen, for the state of Wisconsin, the Brewers are a huge, huge deal. And for what it's worth right now, as a first place team in the NL Central, 11-5 being their record, the energy around the Brewers this season right now seems to be really, really, really high. Christian Yelich still can't play baseball anymore. He's still batting 220 something, went 0 for 4, 0 for 5 yesterday. He's had one home run. Two home runs? Yep. Okay. But the collection of guys that you're seeing here and those that, of course, aren't shown, Corbin Burns, who will be pitching tonight, by the way, versus the Seattle Mariners. Game time is going to be 8:40 p.m. Corbin Burns, look, yesterday, Wade Miley had a great outing. The Brewers win 1-0. Wade was just dominant. This Brewers team, managed by Craig Counsell, is doing a great job working with what they have. Now, I don't know how sustainable this Brewers team is going to be throughout the season. I really do think, Matt, that if you've got a guy making as much money as Christian Yelich, who is not able to produce, that's going to seriously hamper your team, because the Brewers aren't the Yankees. They aren't the Red Sox, right? They're not the Dodgers. So that part of it does concern me from an attrition standpoint. Like, how long can this team be this good? But for right now, early results, they are awesome. Again, Seattle tonight, 8:40. And we've got the Brewers, by the way, slight favorites, -145. The run line here on this is 7.5. Brewers are 1.5 run favorites. You can get the Seattle Mariners at +122. But, for what it's worth right now, man, this Brewers team is playing really fun, really inspired baseball. Wilson Contreras, the catcher, has been great for the Brewers so far. William has been great so far for the Brewers. So this team is it's a lot of fun to watch right now. And by the way, if you don't get the Bally Sports package, Matt has every one of these Brewer games for you on at least 1, 2, 3 TVs downstairs at the recovery room.
Yeah, I guess the youth movement of the Brewers is just really fun to watch. We can talk about Yelich and where he's at in his career, and it's obviously on the down or the back nine, if that's where you want to go with it. But I really just love watching what the Brewers are bringing. It's a tangible just to watch the fun and everything. You can see it, like Joe brought up with Counsell. He's the right manager for this team. And it's a long-ass season, so as long as they can stay healthy and they just keep riding this youth movement, who knows where they can take them.
Well, I look, 162 games, were 16 in. The Brewers 11-5. And we talked about this, I think you and I, even with Rob Mish when we were in Vegas, who was a big Brewer fan as well. Even at this point in the season, the Brewers are 6 games over 500, right? If they went 500 from this point on for the rest of the season, they would largely be in the spot that we thought they would be, which would be in contention for the National League Central Division crown, or at least in contention for a potential wild card spot. The NL West feels like it'll end up putting in 2 or 3 teams when all is said and done.
Possibly, yep.
But if the Brewers can, again, just play 500 baseball from now until the end of the season, that would actually be pretty good. And they would be right there with a puncher's chance to win this particular division. Now, NHL postseason begins tonight. We've got Colorado looking to repeat. We've got Boston, the leading point scorer in NHL history during the regular season, the most wins in an NHL regular season, looking to get their postseason started. We've got the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who I saw a couple of weeks ago, gearing up for another possible run to the Stanley Cup with former Kings goaltender Jonathan Quick, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Can they get to their 4th consecutive Stanley Cup? Think about that. Tampa Bay has been to 3 straight Cup finals. And then, of course, you've got one of your favorite hockey players, former Blackhawks, in Evander Kane, Patrick Kane looking to take the Rangers, right? Yep. And see what they can do there. So NHL postseason starts tonight. Puck drop will be, going on various times around the league, but that's going to be a really exciting postseason. No matter if you're a hockey fan or not, when you turn on NHL postseason hockey, I guarantee you're going to feel the excitement. Even if you don't know exactly what you're watching, if you do tune in, you're going to see and feel the energy from these arenas. NHL postseason hockey, it really, truly is fantastic.
For sure. In my opinion, it's the best postseason of all the major sports out there to watch. It's so fast. It's so fun. It's nonstop action, goes back and forth all the time. I was going to throw this out there, getting between NHL and NBA. I think the Florida Panthers have a better shot at beating the Boston Brewers in hockey. The Bruins are having a fucking franchise record-setting year. Sure. Then I obviously thought the Heat would have a chance against the Bucks. So when it comes against Florida teams and everything else, hockey's hockey, and you never know what's going to happen when it comes down the puck in a 7-game series. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm hoping the Wild can somehow pull out a decent series against the Stars. That helps ring the till. It's local, but I just can't wait. It's a great time of year to watch sports.
So wait, Dallas is playing Minnesota, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. So that means the 2 Minnesota franchises are going against each other.
Yep.
I didn't realize that. I wasn't even paying attention to Minnesota hockey, so I apologize. Hey, listen, you've got Marc-Andre Fleury, right, as one of the, what is he in his 20th NHL season? Multiple time Stanley Cup winner. Yep. Marc-Andre Fleury still has something in the tank, and I know, talking to some folks in Vegas this year, there was that lamentation that Marc-Andre Fleury wasn't still part of the team, right? There was still a lot of that. Damn it. Did we really have to let Fleury go? We know he was getting older, but did we really have to do it? NHL postseason hockey is great. I have a hard time choosing between NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and then just, again, the one and done scenarios of March Madness basketball and the NFL postseason. To me, I'm just a postseason guy. I love them all, but the NHL, like you've mentioned,
I just love the speed of that NHL hockey postseason. It's just not.
Well,
it never ends.
If you're an NHL fan,
yeah.
I mean, it's there's nothing better than NHL postseason hockey. But like I've said, even if you're not a hockey fan,
Right.
if you watch NHL postseason hockey, I guarantee you're going to feel the energy. You're going to feel the vibe. It really is something to see.
It just feels like a lot less commercials too when you're watching NHL hockey as opposed to every other football game or obviously baseball has the innings breaks, but football, it's like if there's a timeout every other 2 minutes, it seems like.
Well, during a 60-minute NFL game, there's exactly 11 minutes on average of live action.
Yep.
During 60 minutes of play, 11 minutes of live action. That's why the cut screen was so important. Rob Dog wants to say go Rangers, go Knicks. His Knicks, of course, are looking to make some moves in the postseason as well. I think they've got a real shot too. The Bucs are back on Wednesday. We're back tomorrow. Matt Giannis, UWL head coach, will be there. Bingo tonight. You saw the screen. Bingo tonight, 7 o'clock. We're going to start this bad boy. We'll go till about 9 o'clock. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to do cash giveaways. We got other swag and stuff. And, of course, we're building up to our end of the month bingo. So come and see us 7 o'clock here at the Recub. Doors open at 11. So if you're off school today, if you're off work because lacrosse school got canceled, let's come out and have a what is that, a Monday fun day?
Sounds like a plan.
I like it. See you guys in the morning.
Peace.